Toyota of Germany accidentally leaked these photos in an email that they sent to potential customers. But here they are, we're gonna look at them, and by the way, are you just as tired as I am of this endless press cycle going on and on and on? Well, if you are, January 14th, the North American International Auto Show is the debut. I'm gonna be live streaming it on Instagram. Follow me there at RevMatchTV. By the way, my name is Eric, and I've got some photos of the dash which are not covered up. I'm gonna show you the instrument cluster. It's a little bit farther in the video, but this is a short one, so hang out and watch the rest of the video. Let's look at the styling of the Mark V and compare it to the Mark IV. There were some comments of people saying that they thought the heritage wasn't really there, but let's look at them side by side. So actually, whoever said that the Mark IV didn't look like the Mark V, I'm actually gonna disagree. There's some very, very strong styling cues here. First, let's look at the piece below the hood, in between the headlights. That's very similar. The new one has got a little bit more of a curved thing. The headlights obviously are quite different on the Mark V. Obviously they are sort of long and skinny going back. I like them. Then we've got the area below the bumper. We've got an opening for the radiators. And on the Mark V, we've got multiple openings. There's going to be more cooling requirements as well. The cabin seems to be of a fairly similar shape. You've got the windshield sort of going back at a pretty similar rake. You've got a pretty similar roof line. And then on the Mark V, you've got some wheel arches, and you've got those on the Mark IV as well. And even on the Mark IV, you've got that little inlet in the arches. The bottom lines of the door, that accent line goes back to the back of the door. That is pretty similar as too. Let's go take a look at the back. The rear of the car, there is a little bit less similarity. In the Mark IV, you've got a more simple shape, and of course you got that huge big spoiler. The taillights are completely different. On the Mark V, I think the taillights sort of echo what we've got going on with the headlights up front. And it's just an overall much more complex shape at the back, but of course it is a hatchback, so you still have this sort of bubble type look. And looking at the lines of the windows, the C-pillar is, you know, it's sort of similar. Obviously in the Mark V, it's got that sort of sharp angle at the back, but the overall shape is not dissimilar at all. The wheelbase, for those that you don't know, is shorter in the Mark V. It's a little bit shorter than the GT86. I really do want to say thank you for 25,000 subscribers and millions of views in the last couple months. You are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really, really appreciate it. I wouldn't be here without you. We're going to talk about the latest news in a second, but so many of you have commented that it has to have a 2JZ GTE, and it's just not going to happen, unfortunately, and here's why. That engine stopped production in 2002. It was originally developed in the 80s. It's an iron block, which means it can handle a whole lot of boost. It also means it's a very, very heavy engine. And a lot of people have said, hey, why don't you just update it and make it compliant with all the new emissions requirements that we have? Now, I'm not an engineer, but I know that if you change one thing in a complete system, you change everything. It's not just a matter of throwing on a couple of catalytic converters and a couple different sensors to meet modern emission requirements. There are CO2 requirements that new cars have to meet as well. So it's not just a matter of changing a couple minor things that have to really recreate and rebuild the entire engine from scratch. And when you think about it, this is not trying to be the LFA. This is not a super high-end halo car. This is still an affordable car for not exactly the masses, but for people who can afford a $60,000 car. $60,000 is a lot more affordable than $100,000 or even $80,000. And in my opinion, Toyota is not going to sell enough of these to justify a completely bespoke engine. Of course, the decisions behind this are financial. We're living in a marketplace right now where SUVs are king. Toyota is selling a ton of SUVs along with the domestic manufacturers, and sports cars in general are a very small, shrinking market share. They're just not selling as many cars anymore, and sports cars are a fraction of that. The Supra is going to be a pretty low volume car. In fact, in the UK, for 2020, the first year of the release, only 300 of these cars are going to be available in the UK. So they're not going to be selling a ton of these cars. I'm guessing like maybe 10,000 units the first year. It costs so much money to engineer an engine from scratch, and I'm not defending Toyota, I'm not defending BMW, but obviously they decided to do it together because of the financial considerations and the overall market for a still relatively expensive sports car. I know earlier I said that it's affordable, but yeah, it is compared to like $80,000 or $100,000. The market for those kind of cars is actually quite small. A quick reality check here, the LC500, that's the rather expensive Lexus that starts at about $90,000 and above. In 2018, they sold 1,979 according to Road and Track magazine. Their goal was to sell 400 cars per month. Clearly they didn't even come close to that at all. And a lot of people said, why don't they just use that as a base platform for the Supra? It's a 4,000-pound car. That is really freaking heavy. It's just not a good base for a sports car. Toyota's always been about lighter platforms, lighter cars. Look at the GT86, it's 2,700 pounds. All the new cars are getting lighter and lighter. 4,000 pounds is just... A lot of people said that the 370Z should be the target for the car, and maybe it is, but it's a $30,000 car. Last year, 2018, 3,468 of them were sold. And a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people, but some people were saying the Nissan GT-R should be the target for the Supra. That's a car that starts at $100,000, and you can pay up to like $170,000, $180,000 for the car. Absolutely ridiculous. It's a 10-year-old car, and I understand it's had a lot of development. Guess how many of those were sold in 2018? 538. So if Toyota wants to sell this thing and be profitable, my point is they can't have a bespoke engine. By the way, bespoke means a one-off custom engine. So yeah, while I respect people's desire to have a 2JZ engine in it, remember Toyota has to sell these to the first buyers, not the second or third buyers down the line. And I know that Toyota definitely understands the heritage, and I do believe that they want this car to be mod friendly. However, they're not marketing the car for the people who are going to be buying it second or third hand. They do need to market it to the people that are going to be buying it in the first round. So, you know, as cool as a 2JZ engine would be, it is a 20-year-old motor. Engine, I should say. It is obviously going to be very difficult to bring that probably into emissions compliance. Toyota hasn't made an engine like this for a long time. So, yeah, no 2JZ, but I'm definitely looking forward to the people that are going to be dropping it in their 4-cylinder 2020 Supra, and there's going to be some cool videos on that really soon, I'm sure. So one of my viewers was nice enough to send me some photos that he found of the dashboard. Let's take a look at those right now. So this is taken from Motor 1, and it looks like it's a fully digital dash. You can see the tach in the middle, and you've got a speed indication on the left-hand side there. And on the right and left, I'm guessing maybe on the left it's a fuel gauge or a temperature gauge, and on the right, something similar to that. Here's just another angle of it from a different part of the steering wheel. You can see it's in German, so that tells me there's definitely some BMW going on in here, but this dash is unique to the Toyota. It's definitely not what the BMW Z4 has. And then there's one at night. You can see what it looks like kind of illuminated there as well. So that is what the dash looks like. We're not supposed to be able to see it yet, but here you have it. And right after that, let's talk about what Car Magazine has just published regarding the Supra. Where is it going to be built? So we know that the BMW Z4 is going to be built at the Magna Steyr plant in Graz, Austria. Magna Steyr is a third party. They're not owned by BMW. In fact, a lot of different manufacturers have used them over the years to do smaller model runs. Now, everything that I've read up until now said that the Supra was going to be built alongside the Z4, but Car Magazine out of the UK is reporting that it is going to be built on a Toyota line. Now, I don't know which is actually accurate. That's the first time I've read this, so we're just going to have to wait until the debut. The Supra is going to have stiffer toroidal rigidity than the LFA, which is a composite design. Now that's pretty impressive. When you have a stiff chassis, that's desirable because that means you can fit suspension to it and have the kind of compliance that you want that's going to make the tires contact with the road as much as possible. You're not going to have deflections from the body, so the suspension can kind of be isolated and do its work independently. That's why a stiff chassis is a desirable thing, especially for a sports car. Now we know that this car is going to be track friendly. Obviously they debuted it at Goodwood, the dynamic debut, and Toyota has confirmed they're going to be racing the car at the 24 Hours Le Mans in the WEC GTE class. And Car Magazine is reporting that there will be 4 versions of the car available. I'm going to read them here. The Supra, the base model, the Supra GR extra equipment model, the Supra GR Sport, the sports trim, and in the future Toyota has confirmed, but with no details at all, that the GRMN version is going to be available. We don't know what that's going to have, but that's going to be their Go Faster edition. We don't know what that's going to have in it. Could have bigger tires, different suspension, bigger motor. We'll just have to wait. A little bit of an update on the manual gearbox situation. Masayuki Kai, I believe he is the assistant chief engineer in the project, says that a manual box has not finally been decided, and depending on the feedback from the market, we will decide if we should introduce a manual transmission. Apparently, the manual transmission has been developed, but it's not going to make it to market. And if it does in the future, maybe it's going to be available in the right-hand drive countries only initially. Again, this is just unconfirmed reporting. I'd love to have a manual, but it seems like there's some kind of movement happening inside Toyota on this. I'd love to see a manual in North America, of course. And here's what's really funny to me about the comments is that people complain no manual, but at the same time, all the people that love the GTR, the R35 has never had a manual gearbox. And yes, I know the automatic is faster, I get that, but I'm about driver engagement. This is a sports car, it's supposed to be fun. I like shifting, I like using the clutch, I like doing all those things because it develops my driver's skill. That, to me, is more important than split-second shifts. If I'm gonna go drag racing, if I wanna do rolls in the street, yeah, I'll get an automatic, but I'm into the overall enjoyment of the car, and to me, it's gotta be a manual for that. And am I gonna buy the Supra? I put a deposit in. Even though it's an automatic, look for it on the channel in the near future, hopefully. And yes, we can talk about reliability, and maybe I come off as defensive in the comments, but obviously BMW is not known to have the most reliable electrical systems. The N54, for example, has issues with the fuel pump specifically, which BMW did do a 120,000 mile warranty for anybody that has one of these. The injectors can have issues, but to me, I haven't heard a lot of people blowing up the bottom end of their N54. Apparently it is a pretty stout bottom end, and for the people that want to make 1,000 horsepower, that's cool. If you want to do that, go ahead and get your 2JZ, but an N54 can make about 700 horsepower on the bottom end. I'd imagine the B58 is going to be able to do similar. That is a heck of a lot of horsepower, and come on guys, let's get real. If you want to go drag racing, why would you buy a brand new Toyota Supra knowing full well that it's probably not going to be designed to go drag racing? Get yourselves a GTR, and you know, the other option is a Tesla P100D. That's probably the fastest car you can buy out of the box with no modifications at all. Yeah, it's electric, and yes, I'm trolling you. I will be at the debut at the North American International Auto Show. If you have questions that you want me to ask, I'll see if I can get them in. I know it's going to be pretty crowded at the press release. Leave them in the comments below. Remember, I will be live streaming on Instagram. I'll be posting videos here as fast as I can, but Instagram is going to be where I'm going to get the stuff out as quickly as possible. Thank you again for 25K. It means a ton to me. Thank you for all the support. See you guys in the next video.